Hi.
Hello, Geno.
Hello.
Hello, Geno. It's a real pleasure and privilege to talk to you. And
Well,
really
my
thank you
pleasure
very
that
much
you
for your
invited
time.
me. Thank you for inviting me.
I have here my deputy director, Anita Hartung. She was in a contact with Sarah.
Hi, Coach. It's very nice to finally meet you and see you and talk to you. And hello.
Thank you. Same to you. Same here. Same here.
No.
Okay, so we will have a couple of questions, and you are free to talk to as long as you would like. Okay, and can we start?
Absolutely. Whenever you're ready.
Geno, thanks. Now, the first question will be that can you tell us your opinion on the turning points in the world's basketball?
Turning points. During my lifetime,
Okay.
when I watched the game when I was younger, the game was played more closer to the basket. People put a lot more value on having a really good big pivot player, post player. That became every team had to have one. And you built your offense around that post player, whether that post player was in the low post or whether that post player was in the high post. Everything seemed to revolve around that big man. Mm-hmm. And that was the case for the longest time. You had two guards, you had two wing players, and then you have one post player in the middle. That seemed to be the universal way to play basketball. And then what happened was they widened the lane. Will Chamberlain, I grew up in Philadelphia, and Will Chamberlain played in Philadelphia. So he caused a lot of rule changes because he was such a dominant post player. So they made the lane a little bit wider. Then they added the three-point line, which didn't exist. So adding the three-point line and widening the lane made it more important to be able to play further away from the basket. And each year since that, the game has evolved. In the women's game, I think in the 1980s, 86, 85, 86, 87, somewhere around there, when the three-point line really started to become part of the game of basketball on the women's side, I think that truly changed the game. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We were one of the few teams to take advantage of it immediately. 1988, 89, I remember distinctly, we did that. And in 1991, with the same group of players, we went to our first ever Final Four. And basically, we had four players on the floor at all times that could shoot the three-point shot. And little by little, that made the necessity of a dominant post player not as crucial. Mm-hmm. However, if you had one, you were still able to do both. And we've been able to do both for the longest time. Have a dominant post player and still take advantage of the three-point shot. Mm-hmm. Now, fast forward to today, and I think the rule changes, the game has become less physical. Like, mm-hmm. You put your hands on somebody, it's a foul. Now, that's in the United States, not in Europe.
Yes.
In Europe.
Okay, we'll be questioned about this. Yeah.
When I coached the Olympic team and we would play in Europe, the rules are a little bit different in Europe. The only time I got a technical foul coaching the national team was from an Italian referee. And I tried to tell him in Italian, I was born in Italy. How can you give me a technical foul?
Because he was from north of Italy. Huh?
Yeah, he was from north of Italy. That's right. So um, you know, the game is much more physical. There, you know, if you get hit and the ball goes in the basket, no problem. If you get hit and the ball doesn't go in the basket, then that's a foul. Here in America, if you get hit, it's a foul. Whether the ball goes in, it doesn't go in. So the game's changed a little bit. There's more open, more movement. And now this idea came, you know, like you have to have a point guard. You have to have a point guard. And then you have a two guard. And then you have a small forward. And then you have this other forward. And, you know, the game became a little bit goofy. Instead of whatever happened, we still play, you know, two guards, two wings, and one, you know, sometimes you don't even need a center. So the analytics part is the final piece, where now people study and they look at, see what shots should we take, what shots should we not take. And that's kind of made the game, I think, not as much fun, because now people just shoot 50 3-point shots every game and they think that's okay. And I don't think it's okay, but that's the way a lot of coaches want to coach the game. That's the way a lot of players want to play the game. So to me, those are the big changes that I've seen in my lifetime.
Thank you, Geno. And the next one is, can you tell your opinion? What can we expect from basketball in 2030, in the next 10 years?
God only knows, right? I don't even know. I don't even know. I probably should ask you. You know, I don't think the players necessarily want to play defense anymore. I don't think the players want to do drills. I think they just want to play. So I think the fundamentals are not going to be as important in a few years. They'll probably add a 4-point shot somewhere, you know. You know, it might end up being, you know, if you score from here, it's worth 1. If you score from here, it's 2. If you score from here, it's 3. If you score from here, it's 4. You know, I don't know. I would hope that the fundamentals of the game, the basic fundamentals of the game, would stay the same. But I think you're going to see less emphasis on defense and more emphasis on just, you know, transition basketball, because that's the way kids want to play today. You know, people want to see a lot of scoring, a lot of scoring, a lot of scoring, a lot of scoring. You know, you're seeing it in every sport.
That will change in physical terms more than in the technical, but the physical change will determine the technical and the tactical things, isn't it? We change the game with physical terms.
Yeah, as players get bigger and they get a little more, you know, able to play more positions. So now you're not confined to where you're, you know, you can do this. You know, now you've got NBA players that are 7 feet tall that play like guards. You know, now you've got, you know, Luka Doncic is like the way Magic Johnson was. You know, he's 6'8". You know, he's playing point guard, and that never used to happen before. You know, so you've got players that are playing positionless basketball. They play everywhere on the floor. They can do. I think the Europeans have changed the game, and I think they'll continue to change the game. Americans, you know, it's like we did all these clinics in the 50s and 1950s and 1960s. All these American coaches came over to Europe, and, you know, whether it was during the war, right after the war, whenever it happened, and showed everybody this is how, you know, the game of basketball is played. And then 30, 40 years later, you played a better way than they played over here. And so now a lot of those European players have come over here and kind of changed the way the game is played over here in America. Now big players can shoot, big players can handle the ball, big players can pass, they can move. You know, they're not restricted to like back in the day. You know, every big player in America was expected to be like Shaquille O'Neal or Lou Alcindor, you know. But now, you know, big players are like Giannis, you know, is 7 feet tall and he plays like a guard. And he plays like a big guy, and he plays like a forward. He plays like whatever way he wants to play that night. So I think the physical capabilities of players have certainly changed, and that's led to the changes in the game.
Thank you, Geno. Now, the next topic will be about, do you have a sports science team? Do you use load monitoring? Do you use recovery strategies? Actually, what do you think this sports science input is highly valuable for you in a student sport?
I do. We have a sports department outside of the basketball teaching part that involves both athletic training in America, where the prevention and rehabilitation of injuries has changed with all the technology. The strength and conditioning aspect of how you train has changed. The instruments that you use to measure, before it used to be, I think my players are tired. You look at them with your eyes. I think my players are tired. And now you can actually check how much has been their output, what kind of a load has there been on their bodies, who's reached that load, who's not going as hard as they should in practice, what days have to be less intense, what days have to be more intense. So yeah, all that stuff is, very, very, very important and very crucial to the development of an athlete individually and to the growth of a team throughout the season to reach championship form, in March. The one area that I think hasn't been able to be fixed is what's going on in there, And you have all these people, sports psychiatrists, sports psychologists, they talk, they sit down with a player and they talk and talk. And sometimes, it really works. Sometimes it helps a player. A lot of times the player just uses it as a crutch, like, I'm not working really hard. They don't want to admit that. I'm not spending enough time on the game. I don't really like my role. I think I'm a shooter and coach won't let me shoot. So they say, well, I need to talk to somebody to get my head right. No, actually, you just need to accept your role and everything will be fine. Not everybody's created equal. God didn't make everybody the same. So you can't shoot. So I don't want you to shoot. And so, well, coach, you're messing with my head. No, you're messing with my head every time you shoot. I don't want you to shoot. So somehow we haven't figured that one out yet, how to help these kids today deal with all the stuff that's in their life. We didn't have to deal with that before. So it's easy for us to make somebody stronger, make them quicker, make them faster, keep them in shape. Not as easy to keep somebody from, mentally, with all the stuff, social media, parents, all the stuff that's going on in their life, and having to be the star. And they used to be the star, and now they're on a team where they're not the star. And how do you handle that? You used to be a starter. Now you're not a starter. How do you handle coming off the bench? Things that are, used to be, okay, this is my role. Now, they're not going to like me on social media if I'm not the leading scorer, or if I'm not starting and playing 25 minutes. I'm not going to get as many likes. People aren't going to like me on Instagram. I don't have enough stuff to put on there. And then if I play bad, I have to go on there and I have to read all these, nasty comments, mean comments that people put on there. And like, well, why do you look at it? Well, because that's like oxygen. That's like air to them. That's as important to them as breathing, looking at their phone. So in the past, we never had to worry about that. Now it's probably the biggest thing that gets in the way of players being very good.
Great. The next question will be so parallel because the question is about how do you synchronize school demands and top-level basketball? Does your team have a personalized daily program? Just about this, Geno.
Mm-hmm. It actually starts in the recruiting process. So when we're looking at a player, we're looking at, all right, what do they think about school? When you look at their grades, you look at their resume in high school, and you go, this particular player doesn't really care about school. They just want to play. I won't take that kid. 99 out of 100 times I won't take them. Because in my mind, if you don't think school is important, then why are you coming to a college? Yeah. If you're just coming here to play basketball, then you should go someplace else. But here, it's important that, number one, you go to school, you go to class. Number two, you do well. And number three, you might not be as good a basketball player as you think 4 years from now. And what are you going to have? So to me, players who want to do well in school will also work really hard at basketball, and they'll work really hard at school. You can't just decide to work really hard at one thing. You either work hard or you're not a hard worker. You don't get to choose. And every day their schedule is, so like, for instance, today is Monday. So Monday they'll have class in the morning, and we will train in the afternoon. Tuesdays we will train in the morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then they have their classes in the afternoon. And we have someone who oversees their schedule and sets up any extra help that they need. And they come in at night, after dinner, to work on whatever classes they may be struggling with and how to help them. So all those things are, and we have a nutritionist that helps them with their food intake, what you should be eating, what you should not be eating, which supplements you should take, which ones you shouldn't. So everything that can possibly be done is done for them. But you know how kids are, right? Yeah. You can give them the questions and the answers, and they'll get it wrong.
Great. Geno, I had the luck because I have coached your top level players. Sue Bird in Russia, Diana Taurats in Russia, in Turkey, and they came to Europe to earn money. And I saw how they fought for their rights, for their salaries in America. And I want to ask you, what is your opinion about the new NCAA rules? Is it a whole new world now in NCAA? It will be really, really important for us to know your opinion about this.
Yeah, I think it's good, and I think it's bad. I think it's good if you're Paige Beckers, or you're the best player in the country, and you can make $2 million when you're in college, because people want to use you as an Instagram influencer. You're the person that every 13-year-old girl wants to be, and that's who they're trying to attract. But now what happens is you sign this contract with a company, and now you have to perform. And now on those days when you're not practicing or in school, you have to go do a commercial, or you have to post Instagram things, or now that's another distraction put on top of everything that you're doing. And you still have to go to school, and you're learning how to live on campus with other players, and you're learning how to manage all this. And your parents probably love that you're making money. Your agent loves that they're making money. And you're not a kid playing basketball anymore. You're a professional athlete providing income for a whole bunch of people. So you're actually a professional basketball player now, except you have to go to school. And you're 18 years old. And I tell people, all these people that kept saying, this is great, we have to have this. I said, yeah, okay. Who deals with the ramifications of all this? Us coaches. Yeah. When a kid loses their mind, right? They start crying because they're not good enough. Their Instagram isn't good. Their contract calls for this and that and this, and now their parents are not happy because you're not scoring enough points. You're not, so all these things. And I try to tell people, think back when you were 18. You think you could handle all this? No, you couldn't handle all this. But now we're asking them to handle it. So for some kids, yeah, it's great. Other kids, they're disappointed, like, how come I don't get anything? Mm-hmm. And they start to learn real early in life, life isn't fair. But at the same time, life is fair. If you're the best, you get more than if you're not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
So then
cool.
what does that do to your team? You know, does that affect the team dynamics? So all these things are brand new. And I guess we'll know at the end of this year what was good about it and what was not good about it, since this is the first time we're going through it.
Yeah.
But the pro players, you know, Sue and Dee and Stewie and Maya Moore and all those guys, yeah, they went to Europe to make money. Yeah. You know, when Diana's making that kind of money, yeah, I'm going to go to Europe every year. Until when? Until my body starts to wear down and I can't go anymore. And now they're telling the best players, you're not going over there. You can't be late for training camp. You know, so the players are not going to go, except the ones that really need the money. So I don't know. That's the new way too of, you know, how's that affect European basketball? I like when players go to Europe, and not just for the money. I think they learn what it's like to live away from home and a new culture and different teammates, different expectations, and you know, and it's a job, and you have to, you know, figure things out for yourself. You can't call mommy for a ride. You know, you can't. You know, it's just, you know, growing up. You know, growing up and not having people do things for you all the time, every time. And you'd be surprised, you probably already know, how many of them after a month overseas crying, calling home, I want to come home. You know, like that. It's just, you know, my parents came over to America, you know, so did I. I was 8 years old. You didn't cry, oh, I miss Italy, I wish I was back in Italy. No, you came over here for a reason, so shut up.
Yeah, we saw a lot of frustrated American players in the first year in Europe, but after I think they made all a great job. And Geno, this is the most interesting topic will be for our Europeans, because you only had a couple of European players in UConn. I coached Abrosimova, and I watched your Final Four in 2000 in Philadelphia. I remember her. But tell us, will be very, very interesting for us Europeans, your real opinion. What's the difference between European and not just the players? What's the difference between European and American basketball?
I think when I coached the 18 and under national team, I had Dana Taurasi on my team before she even started at UConn. And I always thought that it was very, very difficult for the American teams to win at age 16, 17, and 18 when they played the European teams. Because I thought the 16, 17, and 18-year-old European teams were always much better. Because they started at a younger age, their training was better, they practiced more, and they played less. So there was more emphasis put on training than actual games. Whereas the American kids never practice, they only play games. So you could see the difference in those days. And then as the kids became 20, 21, 22, then the American teams would kill the European teams because those kids wouldn't get any better. The American kids would go to college, play for 4 years, boom, 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 be coached every day, play every day. Then when they came back to Europe to play with the national team when they were 21, 22, 23, 24, they would beat all the European teams. Because those kids that were better than them at 16, 17 didn't get any better. For whatever reason. I don't know what the reason is. I assume now a lot of them sit on the bench while the American kids play over there. So that probably is a problem. I know that's what happened in Russia. Svetlana was lamenting this over there when she was running the team. She said, Coach, all our best players, they sit on the bench as young people because we pay these Americans to come play. And they're happy sitting on the bench. They get paid and they don't have to play. And then when they get to be 23 and 24, Russia's not any good anymore. So the difference is, I think the Europeans always were better fundamentally. The Americans were more physically talented. I thought the Europeans were better basketball players at a younger age. 16, 17, 18, for sure. Always. I think that's changed a little bit now. Don't know why, but that's what I always remember. And the big difference was over there, they practice, play. In America, they Play, 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 practice. Play, 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 practice. Completely opposite. Completely opposite. That's why when you see the European men's basketball players come over here, they all pass better. They all shoot better. They all know how to play better because they practice, 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 practice. The best, the MVP of the NBA last year was a Serb.
Jokic, yes.
The first team All-Pro, one was from Greece, and the other one's from Slovenia.
Yeah.
So 3 of the top 5 players in the NBA are European-born. What does that tell you? That game has gone completely the other way. So it's made a huge difference. If those European kids would come to college, or if they would play more over there, and if they wanted to come here, the WNBA would be a lot better. But they stay over there for whatever reason. The best players over there stay over there or have not been successful over here. Very, very, very few European players have been successful here playing in the WNBA. Yeah. That, I don't know why.
Yeah, but we are coming closer and closer. I think that American basketball have a great influence, and now maybe the European players will give some influence to the basketball in the States. And
I hope so. I hope so. I would hope that they would come over here. The European women's players would come over here and have the same impact that the European men have had. I hope someday that happens. I would love to see it. I would love to see the game change over here, the way the NBA game has changed. And I hope that I always thought that the European women's players could do that if they all decided to come over here, but they don't all decide to come over here. So they'll get drafted. Some of them will get drafted, and then they'll stay over there.
Yeah, I think it's a money reason because in
and then maybe come over, not like it, and go back home for whatever.
Yeah, no.
A lot of reasons, I'm sure, and I'm sure money's a big part of it. Living a nice lifestyle is part of it. Who the hell wants to live in America when you can live in a beautiful place like yours?
Okay, Geno, thanks. No, but for ending, congratulations on your 5 years contract renewal. But the question is, what is your message to young coaches? Geno, tell something to our young coaches, some good messages from the capital of women's basketball.
My message would be good luck. My message would be it's a fine line between how much do you think you can change in a player and how much can you not, and how you walk that fine line. I don't have the ability to do that. I'm more, this is what I want, and you need to come over here. I think today you have to coach with like this, half here, half here. I can't do that. Because the more I go half there, the more they stay there. And so I think for young coaches, they got to make a decision. And it's very, very difficult because the owners, a lot of the owners of the club teams, they take their lessons from, let's say, European soccer. European soccer coach in the biggest leagues, whether it's English Premier League or Serie A or French League, Spanish League, could be anywhere. You have a bad month, you get fired.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what your record was last year. Doesn't matter. So young coaches, I think, either start to go, well, what do I have to do to keep my job, as opposed to what do I have to do to teach my team how to play basketball? Because there's such a premium put on winning. So my message to young coaches is you're going to have to figure out there's a difference between winning, just want to win, and I want to teach people how to play basketball. If you teach people how to play basketball, the winning will follow. Mm-hmm. If you only care about winning, you will forget to teach, and then the winning will stop and you'll lose your job. So if you're going to lose your job anyway, you might as well lose it by doing the thing you love to do, which is teach basketball. So teach basketball. Don't coach basketball. Coaching basketball is different than teaching basketball. Coaching basketball is just, you know, come up with a bunch of plays, give them to your team and say, let's run these plays. That's coaching basketball. Teaching basketball is teaching kids how to play the game of basketball. And I think if you do that, then you're going to be successful.
Yes, Geno, you know that I'm telling that what if you think that it's true what we are telling here to the coaches, that this is what you're talking about is education, and the other part, the coaching part, is ego managing. That's how we deal with basketball here. That your message is do education and wait for ego managing, isn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, managing the players and managing their egos has become such a full-time job that sometimes there's not enough time left in the day to teach basketball. So however you can eliminate all the drama that goes with the ego. I got to take care of this player. I got, you know, like I tell my players, it's hard enough to beat the other team we have to play against. I don't want to have to try to fight you too and try to beat you too. We should all, like, you know, figure out a way to do this together. But it's become much, much more difficult to manage the egos. And a young coach has to be able to do that. And if you're a real young coach, you are kind of like caught. Like you're young enough that you remember what it was like to be like as a player. But if you try to be too much of a player, then you're not their coach anymore. And then if you go too far this way, the players will go like, oh, you forgot what it's like over here. So you're not quite old enough to be here, and you don't really want to still be in the locker room with the players acting like you're one of their buddies and friends. So you're kind of in that middle area right now, and you got to understand that now you are their coach, and you're going to have to make some decisions that they're not going to like. And those decisions can't be based on, well, how's she going to feel? How's she going to feel? How's she going to feel? You know, and one of the things I tell my players is, listen, I will always do what I think is best for you. Always. Except when it's not good for our team. So I'll always do what's best for you, provided it's also the best thing for our team. If it comes down to I got to make a decision, what's best for our team and what's best for you, I'm going to do what's best for our team.
Mm-hmm. Now, and the last question, one extra question for our Hungarians from Pécs, Dorca Juhász. Can you please tell us your opinion about Dorca?
We are very proud of her.
Yeah. And we are extremely happy when she called me that she will going there. I told her don't think, and we are really proud that she's. I told her, look, this is the top of the world for women's basketball, and I hope that she will prove herself. And really tell us a few sentences, your opinion about Dorca.
When I first started working with Dorca in June of this past summer, I thought that she was the most skilled of all the big post players that we have. I thought she was the most skilled. She can score in the lane, right and left hand. I think she's a better shooter than she probably has shown. I don't know that she has enough confidence in it. I don't know. She's a good ball handler. She's a good defensive player. She's a great person. She's a great teammate. I love having her on the team. What's killing me right now is she plays too fast. You know, we're trying to slow her down a little bit. She rushes. she will get great position. Let's say she'll do everything right and then rush a layup and miss it. Or, you know, she'll be in such a hurry to get to her shot that she's not quite ready to shoot it yet. So if I can slow her down a little bit and just have her take a deep breath, I think she's going to be fantastic here. I hope she stays 2 years. I mean, I know she can leave after this year, but I hope she stays 2 years, because I think the one thing she's learning is, which she didn't have at Ohio State, is everything matters here. Okay, every possession matters. Okay, every game we play is on national television, so everything's magnified. Everything matters. So when we're at practice, everything matters. So in the beginning, it's hard to manage that as a player, because you just can't go out there. And if I make this, I make it. If I don't, I don't. I just run back in defense. We're not going to, you know, we're Ohio State. We're not playing to win a national championship. Who cares? Well, here in the South Carolina game, you know, she was great in the first half. We wouldn't have been where we were without her. And then she was terrible in the second half. So somewhere in between there is the real Dorcas probably. I got to find her and get her to be in that space. Right? Not great all the time, not bad all the time. Somewhere where you're consistent all the time, to play where your natural ability can come out, because she's got so much of it. So much of it. So I'm glad she's here. I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. I love having her as a person. I love having her as a player. The kids love her on the team. She's an adult. Yeah. On a team full of kids. Yes. She's an adult.
Geno, thank you for your time.
If you have any more of those, you can send them to me if you want.
Yes.
Not questions. I mean Dorcas.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know that her mother was a top basketball player? I coached her mother. Yeah, she was an unbelievable good player. One of the.
I know.
She was really, really, really. And I think that she played in 1993 in my team in Connecticut. We played a pre-season game. I will check, Geno, and I will send to Dorcas and you. I think her mother played in I'm sure that we played against you in 1993. I found a few days ago a pre-season game, 1993, and I think her mother played a pre-season game.
Was it for her?
I will check this.
What was the name of the team?
You know, they always gave us strange names when we played in a state. We were sometimes Slovakian, some Hungarian national team. You know, it was Pécs.
Oh yeah, yes.
And
I remember.
Pécs. And in 1993 we played a game, and her mother played against you. That's
unbelievable. Yeah, you have to send that to me if you find it.
Yeah, to motivate her.
That would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun to sit down with Dorcas and watch that.
And Geno, we are waiting for you to come to Hungary. We can arrange a great time here for you personally, for your Huskies teams. We have here a great infrastructure. I will send you some material to see, and I will be extremely happy to cooperate. And really thank you for your time. It was a real privilege and pleasure, Geno.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking me to do it.
Cheer for you.
All right.
Go Huskies.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.